Hi, everybody, from First Energy Stadium, where the New York Jets have beaten the Cleveland Browns 31-30 in the closing seconds of Sunday's game. And shock would be a good way to describe this one. The Browns had a 2-touchdown lead with under 2 minutes to play in the fourth quarter when everything flipped upside down, and the Jets scored quick. They scored twice, and they make their extra point, and they beat the Browns. John, this is a tough one to swallow for the Browns this week.
This might be, PJ, one of the worst losses since the Browns coming back in 1999. It was that bad. You don't lose many games, double-digit leads, and under 2 minutes left in the game. And they had this game in the bag. You and I were watching when Nick Chubb scored that third touchdown of the game. Well, we thought it was over. Cade York, the hero last week, missed that extra point. Not obviously his fault that the Browns lost. The big issue today and why that collapse happened was the play from the Browns secondary and that defense. They're playing, giving the separation way too much room with the wide receivers. Myles Garrett even admitting after the game that the defense kind of let up a little bit in that fourth quarter, which is concerning. We were in the locker room talking to players about why were they having issues in the secondary. Why was there miscommunication? The plays were being called on the defensive side of the ball, and some of the players were playing a wrong play. John Johnson admitting that to us in the locker room, that on that 66-yard touchdown that put the Jets close to the Browns there, some players are playing a completely different play. That's a problem. You're having miscommunication. I asked Greg Newsome, why are we having this problem? Why are we having miscommunication? He didn't know. Myles Garrett didn't know. There is some type of miscommunication from the coaches and the players and vice versa. Kevin Stefanski has attributed a lot of the issues on defense being, inexperienced because they're a young defense, especially in that secondary. Either way, they have to get this cleaned up because this is a problem. Nearly messed them up last week in Carolina. They survived. Definitely messed them up today to one of the worst losses since they came back in '99.
Yeah, and I think what's concerning about this, and I asked several players in the locker room today, what changed between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, because they seem to have the New York Jets exactly where they wanted them in that third quarter defensively. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, it's like whatever happened in the third quarter was a completely different change of events. Now, the players preached over and over again miscommunication, as you mentioned 2 weeks in a row. So I asked them, how can you be assured that you can clean this up in 3 days? You have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming here for Thursday Night Football, and they're confident that they can get that done. But just the fact that there's so much miscommunication this early in the season is very concerning. And the fact that, as you mentioned, John Johnson had said in one of the plays, some of the guys were playing one defense and some of the guys were playing the other defense. One way they feel like how they can fix this is by making simple eye contact with each other and have that nonverbal communication. Yes, I'm in the, I got this guy, I got that guy, whatever the case may be, to help fix it. But very, very concerning for the fact that you had a 2-touchdown lead against the Jets team that you thought was, we played the schedule game at the beginning of the year that you circled as one of those games that the Browns certainly could win and should win, and they were very well on their way to 2-0 record for the first time since 1993, and instead now they'll go to 1-1. I did ask Cade York about the kick. I said, any chance there was some wind swirling, because he was kicking it, to the end there, and he said he looked up at the flag and he noticed that it was swirling a little bit, but he said he didn't think it was anything that would have caused him to miss. So he said he's going to have to go back and look at it, but certainly a range of emotions. He went from being the hero, the GOAT last week to all of a sudden, being the guy. Again, he didn't lose it all by himself, but that was a pivotal point in the game.
If he makes that extra point, we're now tied and probably going to overtime. Here's an interesting thing, too, about this game that I thought was very fascinating. When Nick Chubb scored that third touchdown, a minute 55 left, had he not scored and had he fallen and not gone across the goal line like he's done before in the past, that clock runs out. The Jets didn't have any timeouts to stop the clock. The Browns basically could have just run out the rest of the clock and the game's over with. Kevin Stefanski was asked about that, and he basically said that he screwed up. Like, hey, that's on me. That's coaching, So, I think he's aware of that now. I know we can nitpick a little bit on that, but the story in this game to me, PJ, was just the problems the secondary had. And it just didn't happen on that busted coverage 66-yard touchdown by the Jets. It was happening all game. Like Joe Flacco looked like the Joe Flacco that took the Ravens to the Super Bowl. That's how well he was playing, because the Browns secondary kept giving the wide receivers of the Jets and former Ohio State Buckeye, Garrett Wilson, all the time and space that they needed. Too much cushion there. That scheme, is that miscommunication? Is it all the above? I think it is. The players obviously said it is. Can they get that fixed in 3 days? They need to. Will they? Is the other question. We'll find out.
So a couple things to wrap this up. Obviously, last week the New York Jets gave up 63 yards on the ground to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
This week the Browns took it to them with the running game. Big Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and even Jacoby Brissett when he scrambled out of the pocket had some nice yards. They were well over 100 yards on the day. So
and Amari Cooper had a good game
Amari
too.
Cooper had over 100 yards receiving today as well. So that was certainly positive and something good to see. And now on the flip side of that, you've got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in Thursday Night Football. I did see Jadeveon Clowney, who left the game with an ankle injury. I did see him leaving the locker room in a walking boot, so that's something that we will certainly watch now.
Never good.
For the next couple of days, because with a short turnaround, you have to wonder how much of that is just a precautionary thing and how hurt that ankle really is, and will he be able to go on Sunday, or I should say Thursday night. So for now, it is a 1-1 Browns team taking on a Pittsburgh Steelers team that will also come in with a 1-1 record after losing the Patriots today. So that's the story from here at First Energy Stadium, where I think everybody was about 2 minutes away from having pandemonium, and that pandemonium went away quickly, and now everybody's kind of getting settled into this shock that they just saw happen here at First Energy Stadium. So for John Sabol, I'm PJ Zeigler, and we'll check in with you next time when the Browns play here at First Energy Stadium.